Hello and welcome to Philosophy Vibe, the channel where we discuss and debate different philosophical ideas. Today we're going to be looking into situation ethics. This is an ethical theory proposed by the philosopher Joseph Fletcher. Interesting. Now, Fletcher came up with situation ethics as a middle ground ethical approach. When looking into ethical theories, we notice two extreme sides. One is legalism. This is the approach that morality must come with a strict set of rules that must be obeyed at all times. We should never break these rules at any time and for any reason. The other side is antinomian ethics. This is the idea that there should be no rules, no restrictions. Humans should just do whatever they want, whenever they want. A lawless society. Right, and we can see the issues with both these approaches. With antinomian ethics, this would just lead to complete chaos, a complete breakdown of a functioning society. Theft, murder, vandalism, they can all happen with no repercussions. However, with legalism, we can obviously see the issues with blindly following rules no matter what. Each situation is different. There are plenty of cases where indeed breaking a rule is clearly the morally right thing to do. For example, breaking the driving speed limit to get someone to the emergency room. Correct. So, Fletcher developed situation ethics to sit in the middle. Fletcher did not believe that morality needs firm, strict set of rules that must be applied universally at all times, but rather, the morally right thing to do depends on the situation and can change depending on the situation. But, at the same time, Fletcher rejected antinomian ethics as he firmly believed there is a universal moral law that humans should follow when determining the morally right action in each situation. So what do we base our moral actions upon if there is not a strict set of rules to follow? Fletcher believed there was only one moral law we should follow, not a list of laws or principles judging our actions, but just one moral law, one principle to follow, and that was centered on the concept of agape. Agape. What does that mean? Agape comes from the Greek word agape, which means love. But the concept of agape is a bit deeper than this. Coming from the ancient Greek line of thought, love as we understand it had different categories. One was philia. This is referred to as brotherly love, friendship, how you would love a good friend. One was storge. This is familial love, how you would love your mother or your child. Then we have eros. This was romantic love. And we also have agape. This was the highest form of love. This was the love we have for mankind, for our fellow humans, and for God's creation. A sort of unconditional love, a desire to see your fellow man be happy, almost like charitable love. Agape was not concerned with family or romantic love. It goes beyond emotions and personal feelings. It doesn't discriminate or favour any one particular person. Agape is not really a feeling, it is an attitude. It is a love shown to all mankind and a desire to do the best thing for everyone, wanting to maximize everyone's well-being. In the modern day, agape is seen as a Christian doctrine. It is based on the teachings of Jesus, love thy neighbour. I see. So moral law is solely concerned with agape, loving your fellow man and wanting what is best. We should then approach every moral situation following the agape principle. Whatever we are faced with, we must ask, what is the most loving thing to do and what will result in the most happiness? Each situation is assessed on its own merit, and so each moral action depends upon the situation. So here we see the middle way approach that Fletcher was going for. Unlike legalism, situation ethics has the freedom to assess each situation and decide the best course of action without strict rules. If, for example, we can see that stealing is clearly the most loving thing to do in a certain situation, let's say stealing food to save a child from starving to death, then situation ethics would say stealing in this situation is the morally right thing to do. Moral law is not absolute, but we have that one guiding principle of agape, overlooking all moral choices, which stops us falling into antinomianism. Yes, I understand what Fletcher is going for, but how are we to know what the most loving thing to do is in each situation without a set of behavioural rules in place? If each situation is different, how can we know what the morally right thing to do is at all times? Here is where Fletcher says that conscience is what we need. Fletcher uses the term conscience not as a noun but as a verb. It is not something we have, it is something we do. We need to be in a specific situation, and when we are experiencing this specific situation, we use our reason and our rationality to determine the most loving thing to do. This whole experience is the verb of conscience.
I see.
To help in determining the most loving thing, Fletcher developed the 4 working principles. These are not in themselves rules, but rather a framework for determining the use of agape in each situation and to know what the most loving thing to do is. The first working principle is pragmatism. The most loving thing to do must be practical, it must be possible to achieve, and it must be able to work. The second working principle is relativism. Although Fletcher respected the rules of a specific culture or society, mainly for social cohesion, he claimed that the morally right thing to do is not solely dependent upon following the rules. Each situation is different, and there will be situations where breaking the rules are clearly the morally right thing to do, as we have previously said, stealing food to save a starving child. By relativism, it does not mean choosing what is morally right and wrong, but rather the ability to break rules and laws should it be the most loving thing to do.
Yes, I understand.
The third working principle is positivism. By this, Fletcher means theological positivism. Ultimately, Fletcher saw situation ethics as a Christian approach to ethics, all around the doctrine of Christian love. So positivism for Fletcher was ultimately faith in love. Have faith first. Believe that love is the guiding principle. Have faith that morality is solely down to maximizing love. Once we have this faith, we can then apply our reason to the moral situations.
Right.
And finally, the fourth working principle is personalism. The idea that the person comes first. The person comes before the law. Laws should be in place only to serve the person and be there to help achieve the maximum love for people. Should there be a situation where the following of a law would not result in the most loving thing to do, then the law should instantly be broken. The person is the center of moral law. Situation ethics is solely concerned with the good of mankind.
Fascinating.
So this is the situation ethics theory, the middle ground road to moral decision making. Fletcher in fact gave 6 propositions as an overview of this theory. Number 1. Only one thing is intrinsically good, namely love. So this is what we base all our decisions on, agape, love for your fellow man. Number 2. The ruling norm of Christian decision is love, nothing else. This is mainly seen through the works of Jesus, where his teachings of love came above everything else. Number 3. Love and justice are the same, for justice is love distributed, nothing else. So, justice is love shared out to all in the same amount. When everyone has the same love distributed, equal and fair, then this in itself is justice. Number 4. Love wills the neighbour's good, whether we like him or not. So, the agape love must apply to everyone. It is the attitude of wanting what is best for all people, even if you do not personally like some of them. This is Christ's teaching of loving your neighbour. Number 5. Love's decisions are made situationally, not prescriptively. Basically, we judge each situation on its own merit. We do not put in place blanket laws to cover every situation, and we do not decide a course of action until we have assessed the situation and considered everything involved. And finally, number 6. Only the ends justify the means, nothing else. Situation ethics is essentially a consequentialist theory. It is not concerned with things like duty, as is deontological ethics. It is only concerned in the outcome and maximizing love for people.
This truly is a fascinating theory, and I can see why it has been such a popular approach to ethics. It gives humans the freedom to decide what is best in each situation. It does not give huge rules and regulations on what to do and how to act, but instead it appreciates the grey areas of life. It judges each action based on the situation and allows humans the ability to use their reason and pursue actions that we believe to be in the interest of our fellow man. It is a flexible approach to ethics. It is also very practical.
Yes, exactly.
However, as with all consequentialist theories, I see some major flaws with situation ethics.
Really? Like what?
Firstly, when you were explaining this to me, it just seemed like a reworked version of act utilitarianism. Each act is judged by the situation. No fixed rules, but instead of the greatest good for the greatest number, the doctrine is maximize love for people. This is practically the same thing, and act utilitarianism comes with a lot of its own problems. As we can see, the greatest good for the greatest number can lead to heinous acts and can permit just about anything.
I do not think that is entirely accurate. Whilst they are similar theories, act utilitarianism focuses more on pleasure, whereas situation ethics focuses on agape. This is to do with love and well-being for all mankind. The problems that face act utilitarianism will not be as prevalent when agape is the main guiding principle.
I don't think that's true. This is just semantics. All that's changed is the wording, but anything is technically permissible if it can be reasoned to provide more love.
But if a certain action results in the most love, then why is this a problem?
Because the concept of agape leaves a lot to be desired. It is too ambiguous and too broad. All Fletcher says is do the most loving thing. But what is the most loving thing to do? What does this really mean?
This is where conscience comes into play.
I think that's an easy way out not to deal with such a huge issue. Situation ethics does not provide us with a definition of what love is, and Fletcher is very unclear in this area. How can we act towards something when we don't even know what that something is? This leads to a very subjective theory. What happens when two people disagree on what the most loving thing to do is? This happens all the time. People have different opinions and clash on what to do, especially in moral dilemmas. Situation ethics provides no framework on deciding what to do. At least with the ontological theories, we know exactly what to do or what not to do. Situation ethics does nothing for us in moral disagreements. Also, do all people have the same faculty to determine the most loving action? Are all people's opinions considered on equal merit? Should the opinions of more intelligent people be held as more important? Are there some people who do not have the capacity to make sound moral decisions? How do we determine this? What if one person genuinely believes the most loving thing to do is option A, but 1,000 people disagree and instead believe it is option B? Should decisions just be made down to majority votes?
I suppose it depends on the situation, but if it is 1,000 to 1, we should probably go with the majority.
But then we fall into a very dangerous territory. Can we, for example, take the life of one innocent person and use their organs to save 5 dying people? Is this the most loving thing to do? It probably is, as you are saving the life of 5 people, but you are taking an innocent life. However, if the ends justify the means, then does a right to life really matter? Do any human rights really matter if they can be broken at any time just to generate more love? Again, this is not clear. There are no answers to this. As a relativist theory, we are not given a lot to work with and we are left in the dark.
Yes, I understand.
Also, can people really put aside their philia love, storge love and their eros love for the sake of agape love? We naturally favour our friends, family and spouses, and agape wants us to treat everyone equally and do the most loving thing for all. Our personal preferences almost certainly will get in the way of this. If the most loving thing to do comes at the detriment of your son or mother or partner, can we reasonably be expected to choose such an action?
Well, we would have to put personal feelings aside and do the most loving thing.
Yes, this is very easy to say when you are not in the situation, but consider this. 5 people are drowning in one area of the ocean and your child is drowning in another area. You have a rescue boat, but only enough time to get to one side of the ocean. Now, most people in that situation would save their child, and although this is not the most loving thing to do, I completely understand and would most likely do the same thing.
Yes, I see your point.
But what I think is the biggest flaw is around the religious aspect of the argument. Situation ethics considers itself a Christian doctrine, which I understand, yet it also holds itself to be a consequentialist theory which can permit any action depending on the outcome. How can it possibly be a Christian doctrine and a relativist consequentialist theory? The Bible has hundreds and hundreds of rules and laws in both the Old and the New Testament. In fact, God has personally given all humans 10 commandments that cannot be broken under any circumstances. Situation ethics would allow all 10 commandments to be broken if deemed the most loving thing to do. How can situation ethics consider itself a religious Christian ethical theory, yet completely disregard the Word of God? This to me makes no sense. Christianity is a rules-based religion. It has a strong focus on duty and following the Word of God at all times. I cannot accept situation ethics as both a consequentialist ethical theory and a Christian ethical theory.
Very good point. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the vibe. And what are your thoughts? Do you think situation ethics is a good approach to morality? Would you say you implement this in your everyday moral decision making, or can you perhaps give us a better approach? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share, and if you have an appetite for philosophy and want to hear more of these types of discussions, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye bye.